was born, and we initially lived on 78th Street. So Yorkville really was an area that I would start at about 70th Street, 66th Street, and extend up to about 94th, 96th was the dividing line, really. And it went from about Lexington Avenue over to the river. It did not encompass the
Park Avenue,
Fifth Avenue, Madison Avenue, which was a very wealthy, well-established, mixed area that while some German people lived there, but it was mixed in terms of the people who lived there. Yorkville, the German people, Yorkville consisted mainly of Germans with a fairly large smattering of Italians, and the Jewish section, which was a very small minority of that area. It consisted basically of tenement housing with just like an old New York area, shops, fruit store, a meat market, a dry goods store, many taverns.
Remember what the apartments were like? I mean, how they were built?
Well, many of them are still there. You can come back. They all ranged from 3-story, 4-story, 5 stories. They were all basically sandstone fronts with fire escapes outside, and they were railroad flat, which meant that they were fairly narrow, and they had an entrance, and the apartments stretched from front to back in a continuous manner. They had so-called fire escapes because this was the code in the front and in the back, so there was an exit in case of fire. Many of these places were built after the turn of the century, and before and after the First World War. After the First World War. And they were built a lot out of wood, and they were old. The stairs were all wood, and they were basically fire traps in many ways, so that's why they had the fire escapes, which was a source of summer recreation that would occur on it. So I was born, and my parents lived initially on 78th Street, right off between 1st and 2nd Avenue. I do really have no real memories, although there's some vague memories of 78th Street, although I heard a lot about it from my parents. The initial apartment was very small. I came home, they didn't have furniture. I spent the first couple of months in a drawer of a dresser, living there, no crib or anything.
You remember that?
No.
I
was told that.
We heard that.
We can see the result.
The apartment did not have a bathroom. There was a bathroom in the hall. It was heated by a coal stove, and it did have electricity, I was told, but it had an ice box, and I vaguely remember the iceman bringing ice and putting it in on the top, but I really don't have many memories of 78th Street. We moved when I was about 3 to 83rd Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue, and lived in an apartment, and this had another bedroom. There was a living room, small kitchen, and I do have memories of 83rd Street. We lived on the 3rd floor. There's a walk up like all the other places, and I remember some of the problems of my mother carrying the stroller up, and I had a little tricycle, and I remember my first memories of really riding a little tricycle on 83rd Street. We moved to 82nd Street between this, just off 2nd Avenue, when Mother became pregnant with Seymour at the time, when I was about 5.
It was 41.
5 and a half, 41. I was about 5 because now there was going to be 2 children in the family. 82nd Street, we lived in a railroad flat, 3 stories. The bottom floor was a Hungarian restaurant called Reichmann's. Above that was the local beer drivers local union meeting place. Above that was Mr. Reichman and his lady, never married. She helped in the restaurant. They lived above that, and we lived on the top floor.
Oh, I didn't realize that
above
Reichman lived there, yeah.
Reichman lived above there. It was, and I have many, I mean, I lived there until we moved to the Bronx, until I was a senior in high school. So I actually got bar mitzvahed, or the bar mitzvah party took place in the beer drivers local hall there. The